Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Monday, obviously no game this weekend, so no game review, no game last weekend, sorry should I say, so no game review. We're going to be talking about transfers again. A couple of more transfers have popped up over the last sort of 24 hours or so, over the weekend shall we say, and we're going to give another little transfer update, little bit like we did on Friday. Obviously it's now the 27th of January. We've got 4 days until the transfer window slamming shut on Friday night, and it's looking less and less likely that Everton are going to do any business this transfer window. We spoke on Friday about Everton Suarez, or Suarez, however you want to say the name, the Brazilian lad who's playing currently over for Grêmio. We spoke about the possibility of him signing for Everton Football Club this January window. However, that's looking less and less likely. We have got a little bit of an update on him that we'll go on and talk about a little bit later on in the stream, but it's not too much of an update. There's nothing solid that's been put out there over the weekend. It's just, you know, a couple of little things to talk about, I suppose, talking points. We've also got an update on Inter Milan midfielder Matheus Vecino, who's also been linked with a move to Everton over the last week. Especially over the last sort of 24 hours. Like I said, he's been linked continuously throughout this transfer window. However, it's starting to look like it's getting some legs. And like I said on Friday, if there was a transfer that I think could potentially be done by the end of the transfer window, obviously this coming Friday, I did then believe it would be the Everton Suarez deal. I'm now starting to sway towards believing it'll be the deal to bring in Matheus Vecino. If any deal is done, like I said, I'm a pessimistic type of Evertonian. I'm not really an optimistic type of Evertonian, although I like to be an optimistic type of Evertonian. So I'm swaying more towards the side that we won't get any business done, but it's looking like if we do get any business done, it will be for Inter Milan midfielder Matheus Vecino. However, that's not the biggest sort of news. That's not the first thing that we read in the newspaper today. We've been hearing that for the last sort of couple of days or so. The biggest piece of news and the biggest transfer rumour is surrounding Real Madrid midfielder James Rodriguez. Hang on, let me just mute the stream. I'm just going to tweet the stream out so that everybody knows that we are live. Is surrounding Real Madrid midfielder James Rodriguez, obviously managed by Carlo Ancelotti previously. He is being linked with a move to Everton Football Club once again. We've seen these links earlier on in the transfer window, and we all sort of come together and thought, right, okay, maybe this is just a link that the paper are throwing together. Me personally, I don't really believe transfer rumours until I start to see them more and more frequently, and I start to see more and more journalists talking about them, and different type of journalists who wouldn't necessarily have a connection. If there's 4 journalists from the Daily Star talking about the same player being linked to Everton, I don't necessarily believe it because they're all from within the same organisation. But if you've got a journalist from the Daily Star linking a player to Everton, if you've got a journalist from an Italian newspaper linking the same player to Everton, and various other, like I said, different journalists from different type of outlets, then it do start to gain legs and you do start to look at it a little bit more. And like I said, James Rodriguez is a player that's been linked with Everton continuously throughout this transfer window, especially since obviously Carlo Ancelotti's come in as Everton manager, worked with James Rodriguez before. The latest is that Everton and Arsenal will apparently battle it out to bring in Real Madrid midfielder James Rodriguez this winter, and that is actually from AS, who have been known to be quite a reliable source previously. They're saying that apparently both Everton and Arsenal are interested in the midfielder. We know that there have been links to Everton previously in this transfer window. We also know that since those links, Carlo Ancelotti's come out and said basically everything you've read in the paper has been a load of shite. So again, we do have to take this one with a tablespoonful of salt, I think it's fair to say. However, again, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily bring it up usually, but the fact that it's creeping up more and more often, and the fact that, again, we've seen it today, now linking Arsenal with the player as well, and, you know, various Arsenal sources seem to be quite confident that it's a reliable link. So it's definitely worth talking about. Like I said, he does have that connection there with Carlo Ancelotti. We spoke on Friday about players having certain connections with, or, you know, players from the current team or the manager. Of course, we spoke about how Hervé Lozano is quite the link to both Carlo Ancelotti and Marcel Brands, so it would make absolute sense for the papers to make up a rumour about him coming to Everton Football Club. Again, we haven't really heard anything more on that, but definitely heard more on the James Rodriguez links. He apparently is being linked with a move to Everton. Again, Everton will apparently battle it out with Arsenal. We'll see if anything is done between now and Friday. Obviously, there's not a lot of time at all. It's not, you know, I think it's important that we realise as a fan base, and it's important that we realise that this isn't like FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer, and you know, we're not silly. We all know that it's not just a case of throwing in a bid and within a couple of minutes, you know, you're accepting personal terms, and you know, you go from being interested in a player and 10 minutes later the players that you've done and you've signed, and we know that this is a process that can take days, weeks, months, and Everton only have a matter of days, so it literally something will have to move quickly for us to get the likes of Matheus Vecino, James Rodriguez, Everton Suarez into the club. I'm really, really not confident on the Everton Suarez deal because of, a couple of things that we'll talk about later on in the stream. But like I said, they're not situations that just happen, as quick as that. Yes, obviously they can, but it would mean that the club would have to be massively interested in the player would have to be massively interested in a move to the club, and the player's current club would have to be massively interested in getting rid of him. And it's, not often do you see those three sort of come together and make sense, and that's the only situation where we'd see, a player, come to a football club and be signed by a football club, fairly quickly. Otherwise, there's terms to sort out, there's ifs and buts of the contracts, there's fees, there's various different things that take days and days and days to work out. So like I said, it is getting towards the point now where I think a lot of Evertonians are starting to feel like we're not going to do any substantial business before Friday. Alan Myers still reporting that he expects a couple in. I think there are some Evertonians that are hopeful, and myself, I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can potentially bring, one or two players in, even if they're loan players. Players to freshen up the squad, players to add some more fitness and add some more depth to the squad that is at the moment quite weak, let's be perfectly honest, due to injuries. However, like I said, we're 3 or 4 days away from the transfer window slamming shut now, and there doesn't seem to be any solid movement in any of these transfer rumours, so I'm not exactly confident. If you're enjoying the team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Get the stream liked and shared to all your friends and family on all your social medias as well. The next transfer rumour, I suppose we'll go into talking about it. We've just mentioned it briefly there. Inter Milan midfielder Matheus Vecino has been linked with a move to Everton continuously over the last 2 or 3 weeks during the January transfer window. However, it started to look like it's picking up legs over the last 24 hours. Gazzetta dello Sport, who are an Italian newspaper, an Italian publication, they have rumoured a lot of players to be linked with a move to Everton Football Club this January. However, like I said, it's not just them reporting it. They've reported that Matheus Vecino will join Everton from Inter Milan. Nico Scherer, spelled Cschira. I'm sure you've seen him on Twitter. If you're on Twitter and you're interested in transfers and you're following all the journalists and follow all the links, you'll know this guy. This guy seems to be a journalist that's just come out the blue, really. Never really noticed him last summer, never really noticed him in January. But he's a journalist that's sort of come out the blue, out of nowhere. Almost one of them that you'd look at and you'd think, you're just a fella sitting in his ballies in his ma's spare bedroom making shit up. But actually, the last few transfer rumours, I'm not directly talking about transfer rumours linked with Everton, but linked with other clubs as well. He's actually got spot on. And again, I know it means very, very little, and it could just be pure luck. And but he's got a couple of transfers spot on over the last 2 or 3 weeks in terms of other players leaving and going to other clubs. He got the Augustin transfer spot on as well, he's joined. Who's he joined today? Leeds, I think, on loan, yeah. So anyway, he is reporting that Everton are in advanced talks over Vecino. Everton have bid €15 million, however, Inter Milan want €20 million, and apparently, a little bit like the situation that we were talking about with Everton Suarez, with Gremio, Inter Milan are looking to ship on Vecino because they need to make room for Olivier Giroud, who they want to bring in this summer. Now again, it doesn't take an expert to notice that Inter Milan have made an awful lot of signings over the last 12 months. Obviously, even this January, bringing in the likes of Ashley Young, of course, who's come in. They've brought in a plethora of players this January that'll be on massive wages. So it makes absolute sense that they're needing to ship on some of the players that are currently there that mightn't be getting game time. Apparently, Vecino's being told that he's got no future at the football club, and they are looking to move him on. Now, for €20 million or £15 million, it's not the greatest transfer fee, of course. I think he's a player that could do well at Everton, potentially. I don't necessarily think he's got a long-term future at the club. I think he's a player that could come in and maybe do a job for 2 or 3 years, potentially. Obviously, like I said, €15 million isn't the greatest, isn't the greatest sort of amount of money in the world when you look at transfer fees and you compare it to certain other transfer fees. I suppose we're just testing the water, really, and testing how much Inter Milan need to get rid of this player, or how much Inter Milan want to get rid of this player. Obviously, we're bid 15 million, they're holding out for 20 million. We at the minute don't look like we're going to move up to 20 million. So again, I don't know whether this one's just going to sort of fizzle out towards the end of the transfer window, where it comes to the point where Marcel Brands or somebody else from the club comes out in the future and says, oh, we bid 15, they wanted 20, we weren't willing to bid any more, and it just sort of fizzled out. Or whether Inter Milan will say, tomorrow or on Wednesday, listen, we need the money, we need to free up the wage bill, we need more transfer funds to bring in a couple of other players, because they've obviously massively improved the squad over the last 12 months and made some massive changes, and they might go, you know what, we'll take the 15 million because we need it and we just need them off the wage bill. So I suppose we'll have to see how that one sort of transcends over the next sort of 3 or 4 days or so. Like I said, Nico Scherer, who isn't, I wouldn't say he's the most reliable source on the planet, but he's definitely not the most unreliable source on the planet. He is saying that Everton are in advanced talks over Vecino. Apparently a contract has been agreed, and it's just about agreeing the bid now and agreeing the price that Everton will pay for him to come to the football club. Moving on to Everton Suarez before we dive into the live comments. A little bit of an update on Everton Suarez, not too much of an update, but a little bit of an update. Everton Suarez did actually play in Gremio's game over the weekend, which for me basically screams out that he won't be signing for Everton this January. It screams that it's going to be another Yarmolenko situation, or a situation that has happened, with various players, Quaresma over the years linked with Everton Football Club, where we've seen them liking, other players post that play for Everton. We've seen them following Everton's social media, and it just fizzles out and nothing ever really happens. Like I said, the fact that he was included in Gremio's squad over the weekend, obviously he's playing over in Brazil. As far as I'm aware, don't quote me on this, but as far as I'm aware, he would have to get some sort of work permit to come over. We've got 3 or 4 days left in the transfer window. It's looking less and less likely that this transfer is going to be made. Maybe it will go on into the summer, and maybe Everton have got a plan to bid for him or bring him in the summer when they've got a little bit more time and he can be integrated into the squad. But it doesn't look like it's going to be made this January, purely because we've got, 2 or 3 days left, 4 days left until the transfer window shuts, and we're still no further on with this transfer rumour, other than the fact that Everton seem to be interested. There may have been a bid thrown about somewhere or another, but if the player's still playing competitive football over in South America for his current club, it's very unlikely that he's going to make the trip all the way across the world to Europe and be able to sign on the dotted line before the deadline on Friday. So I'm not too confident about that. However, saying that, again, over the weekend he's been liking photos of Richarlison. He's been getting involved with Everton social media. I don't know how much of the Everton Suarez rumours and information and stuff is solid and Everton Football Club are actually interested in bringing him in, or I don't know whether he just likes to flirt on social media and he's just sitting there at home thinking, you know what, I'm very, very good mates with Richarlison. I don't see the harm in liking any of the stuff or following the club that he plays for, because I'd like to follow them because I like Richarlison and I want to follow his progress. So I'm just going to like a few posts, or I'm just going to, follow them on social media just so I can see any updates on Richarlison or how the club's doing. There might literally be nothing in this transfer rumour. Everton might have looked and gone, we're not really interested, we don't need a right midfielder at the minute, we've got other positions that we need to sort of focus on, so we're not really interested in bringing him in. And the player might just be sitting there going, yeah, I'm not really interested in coming, I just want to follow to see, the progress on my friends and see the progress on another Premier League club that obviously have got a world-class manager in charge of them now. And I think, maybe that's all it is. Obviously, Everton fans are notorious for tracking down players. We tracked Lukaku's playing when he put an Instagram post up saying that it's the next chapter of his life just before he joined, or permanently for us. We tracked the flight all the way from London to Liverpool and found out it was his flight. We're notorious for looking deep into these type of situations. So when a player that's being linked with a move to Everton sort of likes a post of Everton's on Instagram, or comments on a photo of one of our current players, Richarlison, or Richarlison's commenting saying we're waiting for you, whilst that might just be friendly sort of laughter between friends and banter between friends and maybe hope from the player that he wants to come to Everton, there mightn't be anything solid within that, and I think it's important that we do sort of look at that. And again, I don't want to get sucked into the Wilfried Zaha situation where we're getting excited about a player when there's actually very little in the room, and I don't want to be sitting here sort of next January and Marcel Brands come out and say we were never actually interested in Everton Suarez. The player was on our radar for maybe a week, we looked at him, we decided he wasn't the right player, we moved on, and he has a good relationship with Richarlison, so they talk on social media. I don't really want to get that excited. And again, if you've got a player that's liking posts of another club on social media or interacting with another a player that currently plays for us, you're going to get media sources and you're going to get betting agencies that are saying, Everton are favourite to sign Everton Suarez, or the players in advanced talks, this, that, the other, because it gets these papers, it gets these publications, it gets these betting companies clicks, and at the end of the day, clicks and views and reads or whatever you want to call it earns them money, and that's why they do it. And if if a newspaper is sitting there and they're looking at the activity of a certain player and they think, okay, well, that player seems to be liking an awful lot of Richarlison's pictures, maybe it's just because they're international teammates and they're quite good friends, let's just make up a rumour that he could be joining Everton. Loads of people will believe it, loads of people will bet on it, and then we get sort of stuck up in this situation where we start to get excited, and then again we're let down pretty much like we were last summer with the Wilfred Zaha situation. So again, I'm not too confident that there'll be anything really in the Everton Suarez deal, or whether, again, I'm not too confident that he'll join the club. Certainly not this January, maybe potentially in the summer. We'll have to wait and see, what the links come up with in the summer, or, what the club, if the club say anything about that situation. But like I said, considering he played over the weekend over in South America, it's a long trip over here. There's loads of details, little bits and bobs that you'd have to go through before you join officially another football club. I'm really, really not confident. The only one I'd say I'm confident at the moment is Vecino, and potentially bringing him in. And I would assume at the minute that it's probably going to be a loan, because, like I said, Inter Milan are very, very keen on getting him off the wage bill. Inter Milan are very, very keen on shipping him out, so they've got a little bit of money, but Everton don't really want to pay the 20 million euros for him. So maybe potentially we'll settle and pay a couple of million and bring him in on loan. I don't know. That's pretty much all the transfer rumours. We'll go through the live comments now. Eugene said, do you think Everton will sign anyone before Friday's transfer deadline? I don't know. I'm not confident, but for the sake of bringing somebody in to improve the squad, and to add some more squad depth, and which is what we really, really need at this time, I'm gonna say yes, but I think it will probably only be a loan. CJ says, I'm calling it now. Vecino will leave the number 15 shirt, and Everton will have the number 15 shirt, and Everton will take 16 or 28. If we can sign both of them, I'll be massively made up. Eugene says, Everton will get back to winning ways again this weekend when we beat Watford at Vicarage Road this Saturday. I hope so, mate. Watford in very, very good form now. Alex says, yes, Cam. Yes, Alex, hope you're doing well. Max says, you think we'll get Everton Suarez? I don't this January, mate. Lewis says, hello, lad. Hello, Lewis. Hope you're doing well. Jonathan says, hello. James says, not another winger. Centre mid we need. I think, Cam, we do. We need an attack of creative central midfielder, but I'm just not confident that we'll bring one of them in until at least the summer, if at all. Tom says, just want the season to be over, really, so Carlo can get the players he wants in the summer. I think a lot of us are feeling like that. CJ says, James can play on the right, so when all CMs are fit, it could be a four of Bernard, Gomez, Cabaman and Rodriguez, but I really, really don't think we'll see all of those players fit at the same time, even if James did join. I don't know. I just can't see a world where every single player for Everton is perfectly fit and we've got a full strength squad, because it just doesn't happen with Everton, does it? Eugene said, do you think the Premier League needs a win to break this season? Yeah, I don't really think about it, to be honest. JP says, Cam, how will Everton Suarez rumours affect the team going into the next game? I don't think it will affect the team. It's like any other transfer rumour, isn't it? If there's absolutely no chance that there would only be a potential that it would affect one player, and that is Richarlison, because those two players very, very clearly have a friendship there, very, very clearly have a bond, and very, very clearly like each other. That would be the only player that it might affect. But if there's absolutely no chance that we're going to bring this player in, whether it be in January or whether it be in the summer or whether it be at all, then I would like to hope that the football club, whether it be Carlo Ancelotti, whether it be Marcel Brands, have gone on to Richarlison and say, listen, I know you've got this, friendship with Everton Suarez, we know he's a good player, but, he's not going to be joining us, so basically, that's it, really. I don't think it would affect the team whatsoever, to be honest with you. Can't think when everyone says, Everton joining, stop trying to lower the expectation. I hope so, mate, I hope so. Chris says, hi, mate, hope you're well. I'm not too bad, mate, hope you're doing well yourself. Can't think when everyone says, still can't fucking get over those shitbags, top 2 points. Relegation is still very possible if we go on a bad run. It is. Relegation is very possible if we go on a bad run, and top 6 is very possible if we go on a good run. That's just how the Premier League is this season. And he says, what do you think about Kenny or Sidibe next year? I think the club would prefer to bring John Joe Kenny back, and allow Jibril Sidibe to go back to Monaco. But I think there's still a good few months, 3 or 4 months of John Joe Kenny's development over in Germany, and I think the club will be monitoring that very, very closely. Carl says, we need a hold midfielder like Vecino and Everton Suarez and James Rodriguez. We do, but whether we'll get them, I don't know. Joel said, if we sign anyone, it will be in the summer. I feel like that myself, mate. And Chris says, you got a tattoo, only just noticed it. I've got quite a few, mate. I've got them all on this arm. I've got one there. I've got quite a few. I've got, some would say, an addiction. But yeah, There you go. An addiction to spending money is what it is. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. A little bit of a short one today, but, you know, short and snappy. Like I said, not many more transfer rumours to talk about, and obviously no game to talk about this weekend. Join us on Wednesday, where we'll have a little bit of an open arena, basically. I'm just going to be sitting here answering any questions that anybody has got, you know, any sort of topics you want me to talk about regarding Everton. There's not going to be any real sort of, you know, topic for the live stream unless something breaks massively, unless there's breaking news to do with the player or the signing or somebody leaving, somebody joining, etc. You know, if it's anything like this weekend where there's nothing real solid to talk about, I'm probably just going to sit here and allow you to sort of, you know, go through and ask questions and I suppose, you know, find out what you want to know about, you know, what I think about the certain elements of the football club or just myself. So join us at about 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, not on Saturday, sorry, on Wednesday for that, and then of course we'll be back into the pre-match content for the Watford game, pre-game preview, and we'll be talking about Carlo Ancelotti's pre-game press conference as well later on in the week, so don't forget to join us for that. Cal says I have an addiction to Haribos. I have an addiction to sweets as well, mate, not Haribos specifically, but definitely sweets. Tom says if anyone is wanting some light relief from our season, I'd recommend watching some of the West Ham fan channels on YouTube. Yeah, it makes you feel like we're not that bad. Chris says take care, pal, thank you very much, and Eugene says see you buy up the toffees. Thank you very much, Eugene. If you have enjoyed today, please do hit that like button, it only takes a second, and if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe as well. Like I said, nothing really sort of solid to talk about. A couple of rumours regarding Vecino. Will he join, will he not join? Obviously we'll have all of the latest updates on the channel as soon as they break. So, you know, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Hit that notification bell as well so you stay up to date with all of the latest Everton news and information. Up to Everton Toffee says, be a marquee signing, that wouldn't it? James Rodriguez would be, or, you know, Everton Suarez would be as well. Tommy says, nice one, Cam, up the Everton Toffees. Thank you very much, Tommy. And Eugene says, did you hear about the basketball player that died? Yes, Kobe Bryant, absolute, not just a basketball player, absolute legend. Basketball legend, the way he pioneered the sport, and you know, the whole, you know, just sport in general was just magnificent, and such a sad situation. Obviously him, his 13-year-old daughter, and you know, a few other people as well. I'm not too sure the exact number, so I don't want to speculate, but many others dying in a helicopter crash yesterday in Los Angeles. So big rest in peace to an absolute legend in Kobe Bryant. Such a nice, down-to-earth, humble guy as well. Not just a legend in his sport, such as a competitor, but, you know, such a humble guy. It shocked me last night. It absolutely shocked me. You know, as soon as I read the news, I was shredded for the entire night, because it's absolutely horrible, isn't it? And again, you know, big rest in peace to him, his daughter, obviously, and everybody else involved in that situation. And also thoughts go out to Vanessa, his wife, and his family as well, who must be going through an absolute horrific time at the minute. So thoughts to everybody involved in that you know, incident, not just Kobe Bryant's family, but the families of everybody else involved. It really is a sad situation. Up the Everton says, do you expect any ins? I have doubts this window. I also have doubts, to be honest with you, mate. I don't know at the minute. I really don't know. Maybe one potentially on loan, but I'm not really too confident. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. I'll see you on Wednesday at about 5:30. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.